Imagine you are an elite paratrooper in the 101st Airborne. You've trained for years to jump into the heart of Nazi-occupied France. You expect the best gear America can buy. But just before the jump, an officer hands you a piece of stamped metal that looks like it was welded together in a basement. It has no wooden stock, no elegant lines, and it costs the government less than a pair of boots. You call it the plumber's nightmare. You call it the cake decorator. You call it a piece of junk. You're told that if it breaks, don't fix it, just throw it in the mud and grab another one. It was designed to be disposable. If you love uncovering these unbelievable forgotten war stories, make sure to subscribe for more. But here is the shocking truth. That $18 trash would go on to outlast the legendary Thompson. It would outlast the M1 Garand. It would serve through the frozen forests of the Bulge, the humid jungles of Vietnam, and the burning sands of Kuwait in 1991. It would become the secret weapon of the CIA and Delta Force. This is the story of the M3 grease gun, the mistake that America couldn't stop using for 50 years. By 1941, America was in a panic. The Thompson submachine gun was a masterpiece of 1920s engineering. It was beautiful, machined from solid steel, and carried a legendary gangster reputation. But there was a problem. War isn't about beauty, it's about math. A single Thompson cost $200 to make, about $4,000 in today's money. It took 150 hours of skilled labor to produce just one. With a world war raging on two fronts, America didn't have the time or the craftsmen for perfection. They needed a weapon that could be birthed by a machine, not crafted by an artist. They looked at the British Sten and the German MP40. They realized that stamped steel was the future of killing. They didn't go to a gun company, they went to General Motors. Specifically, the guide lamp division, a factory that spent its days making blackout lights for trucks. In just 7 months, a speed unheard of in military history, George Hyde and Frederick Sampson designed a weapon that violated every rule of gunsmithing. It was made of 2 halves of stamped steel, welded together like a toy. It had only 23 parts. The price tag? $18.50. The military brass was embarrassed. They didn't even bother making spare parts. They literally told soldiers, "This gun is disposable. Use it until it snaps, then toss it." When the M3 made its debut on D-Day, the reaction was pure hatred. Elite paratroopers felt insulted. They viewed the grease gun as a cheap knockoff of the German MP40. They hated its slow rate of fire, only 450 rounds per minute compared to the Thompson's 700. They hated its ugly wire stock. But then, the shooting started. In the mud of Normandy and the snow of the Ardennes, the plumber's nightmare began to prove why it was a work of accidental genius. The Thompson was heavy 13 pounds of steel and wood that felt like carrying a boat anchor. The M3? Only 8 pounds. You could carry more ammo, stay in the fight longer, and move faster. And that slow rate of fire? It was a hidden feature. It made the gun incredibly controllable. While a Thompson would climb toward the sky during a burst, the M3 stayed dead on target. But the real outlier was the reliability. The M3 was built with generous tolerances. You could drop it in a swamp, drag it through a frozen trench, or never clean it for weeks, and when you pulled the trigger, it went bang. Tank crews fell in love with it. It was small enough to fit inside a Sherman tank hatch, but powerful enough to clear a street. By 1945, the soldiers who once called it junk were refusing to trade it back for the beautiful Thompson. In late 1944, the military released the M3A1, and it might be the most minimalist weapon ever made. They realized the cocking handle was the only part that ever broke. So what did they do? They didn't reinforce it, they removed it entirely. They just cut a hole in the bolt and told the soldier, "Put your finger in there and pull it back." It was crude, it was ugly, and it was indestructible. They redesigned the wire stock to act as a wrench and a magazine loader. The gun became a multi-tool of death. It could be disassembled in seconds and hidden in a small bag, making it the perfect tool for the secret war. The M3 was supposed to be scrapped in 1945, but it refused to die. When the CIA's predecessor, the OSS, needed a silent assassin, They didn't pick a high-tech rifle. They picked the M3. They fitted it with a massive suppressor that was so quiet, the sound of the bolt moving was louder than the gunshot. When the Korean War broke out, the disposable gun was back on the front lines. When Vietnam started, it was in the hands of Navy SEALs and Force Recon for Black Ops missions, because its heavy .45 caliber bullet was subsonic, perfect for stealth. Even in 1977, when the elite Delta Force was formed to rescue hostages in Iran, they didn't reach for the latest submachine guns. They reached for suppressed M3s. Why? Because after 35 years, nothing was as reliable, as quiet, or as hard-hitting. The M3 grease gun was officially retired from US service in 1992, 50 years after it was called a temporary, disposable mistake. It saw the end of the Cold War and the beginning of the Gulf War. It represents the ultimate irony of warfare. Beauty is a luxury, but reliability is a necessity. It wasn't designed by legendary gunsmiths. It was designed by guys who made car parts. It wasn't built for the history books. It was built for the mud. And that is exactly why it outlasted every superior weapon America ever made. The M3 grease gun proves that in the heat of battle, an $18 solution is often better than a $200 problem. It's the ultimate underdog story of the 20th century. So, I have to ask you, if you were jumping into Normandy in 1944, would you want the beautiful Thompson? Or would you trust your life to the $18 plumber's nightmare? Let me know in the comments. I love hearing from the military buffs out there. If you enjoyed this look at the accidental genius of the M3, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're uncovering the hidden history of the weapons that actually won the wars, one piece of junk at a time. Stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.